Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us live as we discuss how SEL supports trauma healing. Hi, I'm Tamara Foley, CEO and founder of Education for All Now and Garwell Publishing. So, welcome to How SEL Supports Trauma Healing. I'm a trauma practitioner and an educator for nearly 40 years, supporting children and adults with disabilities, as well as those in trauma and social and emotional learning. So please type in the chat if you're watching and you're watching the replay later, but type in the chat if you or your children or your grandchildren actually know about social emotional learning. I am so excited tonight to have with us Aniesha Jackson. Aniesha Jackson is a school counselor. She is a children's book author, and she is a mom of four. Just being a mom of four, kudos, kudos. Oh, and I just want to talk. I see some people. Good evening to those people joining us live. And yes, I'm glad that people know about social emotional learning. So,
Okay.
Anisha, could you please share with us? We know that you've published a book
Mhm.
because you're a children's book author. Could you please just give us a 2-second uh, information on your book, and then we'll come back and discuss it more later?
Yes, fantastic. I am Aniesha Jackson, school counselor and children's book author of Queen Kia's 8-Step Guide to Friendships. As a school counselor, I love giving kids tips and tools. I had a kindergartner check me one day. I taught him, I was doing a lesson on bullying, and I gave them just like one tip on how to advocate for themselves. And then, like a week later, he was like, "Your tip did not work." And I was just like, well, it was just one tip. And so ever since then, I realized I'm like, this little 5-year-old is telling me my tip didn't work. Well, that is why it is 8-step guides. So in this book, it is packed with how to have kids make friends, be a good friend, and also how to let some friends go, which is always one of the tougher topics. So my character, Queen Kia, she's a KIA, a know-it-all, and she tells kids how to navigate the wonderful and sometimes wavering world of friendships through 8 different steps, so that my kindergartner friend can say, "Oh, there's more tools, not just one." So he literally is the inspiration on why it's 8, or at least multiple steps on how to navigate friendships, which is very vitally important for all kids.
Well, one thing about it, children will definitely keep you on your toes
Yes, they
and will
will.
definitely let you
Yes, they
know
will.
what they think. But tonight's topic is how social emotional learning, SEL, supports trauma healing. So, we are always talking about trauma. I
Mhm.
hear more about trauma now every day on some television program, some show. Oh, this child went through trauma. Even on shows on television, they're
Right.
talking about trauma. People are finally recognizing and actually acknowledging that people are um, going through trauma. And not
Mhm.
just, I don't want to say we've just been in trauma just because of COVID,
But
because we were in trauma before then.
come
Now,
on.
everybody, we have what's called, uh, you know, this trauma because all of us have been through trauma.
It's
With
definitely a
COVID,
shared
right? It's a shared
experience.
trauma. But tell us, I know that there are parents on here. I know that there are teachers on here. So let's just talk a little bit about what have been some of your experiences with working with children going through trauma.
Right. So I am so glad. It's weird because like trauma is now this new buzzword. SEL is this new buzzword, and I've been in school counseling for 10 years as an educator for a total of 15 years in various capacities. So I don't like them to say, oh, trauma is, we all have trauma. I'm an 80s baby. And when I look back at some of my childhood stuff, I'm like, that is trauma. It's not always something big as COVID. It could be parents' divorce. It could obviously be death. It could be poverty. It could be abuse. It could be parents getting a divorce. It could be homelessness. There's so many different ways that kids can be traumatized, that, like I said, it shouldn't just be, oh, because of COVID, now we've all been traumatized. So working with students, first of all, I am so glad for SEL, and the importance of social emotional learning when it comes to students. I'm like, the traditional way of thinking is the three R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And I'm just like, listen, we need to conquer the three S's before we even get
That's right.
to the three R's. And so for me, the three S's, before you can even get to E equals MC squared, who's going to care about E equals MC squared if your child is hungry? If they saw their mom just get punched in the face. I had a kindergartner come to me, and my eyes, man, I'm being very honest right now, but my eyes, I have like a little dark circles. And he was like, did your husband punch you? I was like, no, I'm just a little sleepy, sir. But he was like, yeah, my mom gets punched. And I'm just like, well, we need to
How
talk
sad.
about that. And this wasn't when I was a counselor. I was in the classroom at this time. And I was like, well, so we're going to talk to the counselor. But I felt happy that he felt comfortable telling me this,
Right.
or whatever. But, just being a support, being a safety place, which is one of the S's. Kids need to feel
Mhm.
safe. And when you go through a traumatic event, the stability, you're just kind of feel like you're walking on eggshells a little bit, and they need that emotional and physical space, or environment. The other S is a support system. They need to feel supported and they need to feel seen. And I'm so, why am I telling this story? But I'm just so glad that he felt very comfortable telling me,
Mhm.
and for him, he's 5 years old, seeing your mom, in a domestic violence situation can be quite traumatic. So just actively listening, keeping your facial expressions to yourself,
Mhm.
which is because you don't want them to change their story or feel like, oh, maybe I
Right.
shared, um,
Too much.
or maybe that I shared too much. Um, and then the last S is teaching skills, um, social skills, how to manage that. What can you do when you see that? How can you even cope? Because sometimes when you see your parent being
Mhm.
abused, you can feel a sense of helplessness or hopelessness. Like, oh my goodness, I can't even help my mom. It
Mhm.
was interesting in like the Will Smith book. Like when he saw it happening to his mom, he felt like helpless, and it's obviously carried on.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, so just understanding that kids need to be seen, they need to and have a support network, having a group of people, caring, trusted adults that they can trust, have providing an environment where they are physically safe and emotionally safe. And the last thing for the S's is to have social skills. And I'm big into explicit teaching. We're not going like, we're going to problem solve. No, no, no. This is how you problem solve. This is how you manage when you're in a situation, you're feeling very overwhelmed. Here are some ways that you can relax yourself, how you can actually calm down, which is why I feel social emotional learning helps mitigate trauma. It helps mitigate. We can't get rid of everything. And that's another thing that I teach my students is that you can't control where you live,
Mhm.
but there are things that you can control. And I'm a big proponent of CASTLE, the 5 competencies,
Mhm.
and teaching them self-awareness, social awareness, self-management. You might not be able to control your environment, but you are able to control through SEL teaching and explicit teaching, you
Mhm.
are able to control your thoughts, your behaviors, and even recognizing um, how you're feeling. And I think that's self awareness and social awareness and self management, putting a name to how you're feeling, because I can teach you skills. I can teach you, but if you don't even know what you're feeling, and that's the important piece with social emotional learning, is saying, I get stuff, my stomach hurts. Oh, you're having a physical symptom. Are you feeling anxious? Are you nervous? Are you scared to be around someone? Um, my 4-year-old son said, "Mom, I'm frustrated." Okay, 4-year old saying you're frustrated. And it's just interesting when you teach them that vocabulary, what it
Right.
feels like in your body, then you can say, oh, I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling nervous. What tool can I use to help with my anxiousness? If I'm having a yucky, icky feeling, I believe Girl Scouts came out a couple of years ago, um, with something about like not always having a hug. I grew up in a culture where you have to hug everybody or you're being disrespectful, and sometimes you have that voice. And he was like, "Go hug your cousin." I do not want to hug my cousin. They give me the creeps. And so through social emotional learning, especially under Aniesha Jackson. Now listen.
Mhm.
Now, one thing you're going to get with Aniesha Jackson, you are going to learn how to advocate for yourself. That is, I'm very big into using my voice. Even my character,
Mhm.
Queen Kia, she is very like using I
Right.
statements. And once again, um, that's through SEL teaching. You can stand up. You can stand up for yourself and um, have that agency.
Yeah. And I think that we have to recognize that all learning is social and emotional, no matter
Hmm.
how we look at it.
Hmm.
And SEL is looking at those skills and concepts that is in social emotional learning. So these are things that we should be teaching our children. We should be expanding it not only just to school or
Schools.
what's,
Hmm.
some schools, there's a controversy now about whether we're going to teach it in school or we're not going to teach it in school in some states. But these are things that parents can be doing at home. And
Exactly.
and so I know you do that with your children,
Yes, I
and
do. Just
they, and I think that's really important. So as a parent, how do you incorporate that social emotional learning to help your children so they do say, and using that language
Mhm.
of, I'm frustrated, this is how I'm feeling at a
Right,
young age. We don't want to wait till they're 10 and then
exactly.
just learn the language.
Right. So one of the things I just check in with my kids. It's a simple thing of just like checking in. Like one of my sons, I'm like, he's kind of grumpy. I love the child. I'm like, you're so. He's like me, very sarcastic,
Mhm.
but he's very young. And I'm like, I just asked him one day. I was like, do you like being in our family? He was, I love being in our family. I was like, because sometimes you say things that I'm like, you're very sarcastic to be 5 years old or whatever. And he definitely
Mhm.
gets that from his mom. But just checking in on the kids, just having conversations. And just not say, how was school? Did you learn? Who did you sit with? Or whatever, but just let organic conversations happen. Teaching cooperative skills, relationship building skills. um, I let my kids do stuff together, because also, and that's also a tip for maybe parents and also definitely educators. SEL is not like, all right, 20 minutes, we're going to sit down, I'm going to drill and kill you with this skill.
Mhm.
No, 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 no. You can incorporate social emotional learning literally by having a group project. you
Mhm.
know, and it can be, all right, so we read a story. How is this person feeling? Let's act it out. So you have like three different groups of kids.
Mhm.
And then one, like I said, I love Castle and the five competencies, but decision making. All right. So in scenario one, Queen Kia does this. and scenario 2, Queen Kia does this, and 3, and then you can work together. Let's build a script. Let's role play. How can they solve this issue? Whether it comes to peer pressure, whether it comes to should I do my homework or not? And so you can incorporate, and that not only teaches responsible decision making,
Mhm.
but it also teaches responsible the relationship skills,
Mhm.
problem solving. You know, always going to agree with your with your teammates, but we definitely have to be collaborative. You
Mhm.
definitely have to negotiate. You have to compromise. You have to read cues. Oh, you said something that was a little hurtful. Social awareness. Oh, you can see that that person didn't like, that comment. Effective communication, using I statements. If you get frustrated, what if you don't get your way? Can you just yell and scream? No, we cannot. So you need to figure out some self-talk. I was thinking about even like this is a little off topic, but just a little bit, but like even suicides and things of that nature, and how SEL can mitigate that. It's such an unfortunate topic, but just like positive self-talk, like and having that self-efficacy, of being able to voice yourself, having a support system, also knowing your strengths. One of the things about trauma-informed SEL, it builds on your strengths.
Yes.
And that's I want to say that's self-awareness. That's one of the competencies for self-awareness, knowing your strengths, and to me, also embracing your flaws. I'm one of those kind of people. I'm just like, I don't cuddle up to my flaws, but I'm like, I'm not perfect and I'm not my mistake. So also knowing what you bring to the table, your strengths, it helps boost self-esteem. But just saying, yes, I have flaws. Yes, I have some weaknesses, but I'm not my mistake. And it gives me purpose, some goals, which is also self-management, having some kind of clear goal. So for teachers, it doesn't always have to be a read aloud, even though I suggest um, teaching SEL through books. There's so many
Right.
good books that teach SEL, but also, like I said, group work helps a lot with building relationships. Also, I'm also a fan of explicit teaching. So once again, with the relationships, like even in my book, it's like be yourself. Like don't change who you are to fit in, and find the group where you are celebrated and not tolerated. I had a student who wanted to be in the cool kids group, and I'm just like, you're not athletic. Okay, you don't want to hang out with it. Can you just be with your group or of your tribe? And he had a hard time. So he would try and fit in with a group of kids that really well, he was tolerated. He really wasn't celebrated. So my whole thing is like be yourself. You have so much to offer. Self-awareness. What are your strengths? Act on your strengths. Find out your weaknesses. Figure out how you can build up your weaknesses to where they're not so much of a barrier, but also like that self-efficacy piece. That I'm valuable. I'm not my mistake. I know things around me are happening. I know my dad is in prison, but that doesn't necessarily need to be because having a parent in prison is a traumatic event.
Right.
And just letting them know with SEO, I can make responsible decisions. I can control what is happening um, to to me and how I respond, whether it's through coping mechanisms, which there's plenty. It's not just belly breathing. Let's just breathe. There's more coping mechanisms
Right.
than belly breathing. But sometimes it's like, I need to get this aggression out. You're like, no hitting. I said, well, don't hit a person, but hit that pillow, punch that pillow.
Right.
I guess
I think it's important that parents model and parents use that language, not necessarily saying, "Oh, now for SEL," but just saying, well, I'm feeling frustrated right now.
yeah,
I'm feeling angry right now. So this is how I'm going to handle this situation. And then
exactly.
maybe saying to them, how do you think you would handle it if you were in the situation? So you're not necessarily saying, I, now I'm talking about social awareness. Now I'm talking about responsible decision making,
Yes.
but just doing that. And I think it's important. I would really like to see more schools getting the parents utilizing this at home, because we're going to need children
Hmm.
who are trauma informed in the world to
Yep.
take care of us. We're going to need these children who make good
Decisions.
decisions,
Hmm.
you know. And we have to definitely uh, show them and model. And so it may not, and we can say, today wasn't a great day, but this
With
is what I'm
ownership.
going to do to make tomorrow better, or this is what I'm going to do to make right now better,
Better. But
better, better for me. So I think that's also important, because I don't want parents feeling like, oh my God, I got to learn all this and
it's a
I got to go
lingo. No,
fast.
you
So
don't.
you don't need to do any of that, because you're doing it probably already,
Hmm.
but it's just putting those names so that kids can use that language and they can actually see what's um, what's going on. And if your school is already doing social emotional learning and your kids are engaging in social emotional learning, then it's having those conversations with them about what
As
did they
well.
learn, what are you doing. I know I have a 3-year-old great niece. And so every time I see her, I say, well, did you learn anything new in school this week? And she says, no.
Well,
And I know she did, but
of course.
at 3 years old, she thinks she knows everything.
Oh,
You know,
oh goodness. She's like a KIA. She's like,
taught you,
know it all.
who taught you how to do this? I did. So but it's wonderful, because I get that same answer, and I just keep asking her every time I see
Right.
her, did you learn something new in school? She said no, but she did tell me. She said, but I'm going to send you 2 videos of me reading. I said, okay, well,
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
she is learning to read, so I'm very proud of her.
Yeah.
I'm very
But can I
proud of
add just one
her. Mhm.
caveat to not only modeling um, I'm feeling angry right now. I need to take a break. But also to let kids know that sometimes they feel like there are bad emotions, like feeling
Yeah,
angry, feeling frustrated, feeling jealous, feeling this, feeling that. And you can say, no, even grown-ups, I'm
they're
feeling
healthy,
frustrated.
right?
Though they are healthy, it's how you cope with them that makes the difference. So I like that if you say, I'm feeling angry right now. So I'm gonna just go to my room. I'm gonna listen to some
Right,
music and you're teaching them that as well. And then there are some parents who might be like, I explode because I'm frustrated. And so sometimes saying,
right,
take a deep breath because
right.
sometimes
Or maybe
because
we
life
need to
can be
breathe
overwhelming.
together, or maybe I just need to go away for a moment and read a
Yep,
book, or
yep.
like you said, listen to some music, or
Easy.
watch a
Mhm.
show, or something, just to show them these are some techniques, some strategies
But some
that
strategies.
you can definitely use. And one thing I like about um, your book with Queen Kia is that definitely she didn't mind sharing her strategies and telling people what they definitely should do.
The apology one. She was like, you need to apologize. But that's part of castle. That's
Right,
standing up
right.
that's standing up
Standing up
for
for yourself,
others.
right,
Not only using your voice for
right,
yourself, but standing up for others and saying, you know what, that's what you're doing. It's not right. And
right.
so no, she's very that's how I teach. I'm like,
Mhm,
stand up for what is right. Uh,
right.
Use your voice. I've had parents who come say, are you Miss Jackson? I'm like, okay. I'm like, yes. They were like, my child talks about you all the time. And they said this, where they were standing up for themselves. And they were like, thank you. And I'm just like, listen, your child will learn. They're not going to have low self esteem under me. I'm like, you are valued. You are valued. And you're so important. And you bring so much to the table. Embrace, just embrace that. And it's not like, oh, I'm trying to be counselor of the year or whatever. But I'm just like, also, I'm a Christian, so I'm like, you're fearfully and
Mhm,
wonderfully made. I do not say that because I don't want to get in trouble, but I
right,
come from that lens of you are valuable. Speak up for yourself and speak
Yeah,
up for others.
and that's really important. So, can you tell us? So, where can we find your book?
Yes, so my book is on Amazon. And once again, it's Queen Kia's 8-Step Guide to Friendships. It's also on my website if you want to get an autograph copy.
Hmm.
Um, so Aniesha Jackson .com. It's also it's on Walmart.com, BarnesandNoble.com. So there's definitely various places, all major online retailers, to the glory of God. I
And so
carry
I
carry
put
my
that
book.
in the chat so people would know, so they could see it.
Yeah,
AnishaJackson.com, so they would know
get an autograph
how
copy,
to
and it
get
comes with subscription.
autograph copy.
Get an
Because
autograph
I
copy.
know kids, some kids love. I got a something from a parent that said her child loved the autograph copy and
Yes,
the message. I thought, oh wow, that's wonderful. And
right.
this was a young child. So
Oh,
definitely, definitely. So thank you so much. I
thank you. I
mean,
feel like I haven't even gotten through all my notes, so hopefully
Aniesha
I was
Jackson.
helpful.
Well, if you want to give us that last
Oh,
tip or that last thing that you want to say to the audience tonight, go ahead.
yeah, I'm just so very thankful that social emotional learning is getting its just due. It has so many positive aspects, not only for kids themselves, but for the school culture, and for sure, whether I don't want people to think that SEL is taking away from the traditional education.
Right,
You
because
can infuse it through your stories, through journaling, but teaching kids how to manage that's what trauma is. It's stressful, sometimes toxic. You can't get away from
right,
it. And
right,
so teaching kids some coping strategies such as breathing, tensing and
mhm,
relaxing your muscles, pushing up against a wall, positive self-talk, how you speak to yourself really matters. Having a growth mindset, it teaches you how to
mhm,
problem solve. And sometimes now I know some of the situations that we may have or role play at the school may not translate per se to some of the issues, the real issues that they're dealing with. But to me, the more I can do, what would you do? WWYD, what would you do? The more they're practicing problem solving when they're in that peer pressure situation
right,
or whatever, they can still have, oh, well, we do this once a week, you know.
mhm,
So I can transfer that skill to something else. Also, naming emotions. How are you feeling? Naming that emotion and seeing other emotions. It's vitally important just to be like, I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling sad, and it's not going away. That's
right,
That's SEL. And saying that's self-awareness. Like there's something going on. I get nervous. I'm very anxious around this person. I'm anxious
mhm,
coming to school. I'm being bullied. My friend, I had when I was doing a read aloud, one of the kids said, "My friend bullies me," and I'm like, "So you're using the wrong word. They're not your friend." And
mhm,
teaching those healthy
right,
boundaries. That's not, and of course through my book,
mhm,
you'll learn, but you'll learn like that's actually not a friend. And if someone is being sexually abused or whatever, that voice, that is wrong. So it's not like, oh well, maybe I deserve it, maybe that's because sometimes kids, they try and figure out,
mhm,
why is this happening to me? Maybe I deserved
right.
it, maybe I did something wrong. Through SEL, say no, 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 no,
You
you're
never deserve that.
you never deserve that. And also like the feelings of helplessness, like I said, self-efficacy. Um, Also, like if they're feeling distressed or whatever, just say, maybe you can draw. What's a creative outlet? Maybe you need to
Mhm,
pause. Maybe you need to go and write in a journal. Gratitude, even helping someone. Sometimes helping someone actually kind of
definitely
can
help.
shift you. And these are just some of the strategies that SEL teaches. It teaches skills. It equips kids with skills and knowledge to navigate what I call the world of kiddom. We're no longer in this age of children are seen and not heard. Like,
That's
no,
right.
you need to listen to them. You need to hear them. And they go through things, and them losing their little puppy dog. You might be, I have bills to pay, and you are worried about losing your puppy dog. But if it's important to them,
Well,
then
that's
it's really
right, and
important.
that's their first experience with grief.
Grief. Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we just could go on and on, but we can't because
I know, I know.
so we may have you back to talk
I
about
know. Hopefully, I provided some tips
yeah
for
some
families.
other
It
things.
was,
And I know you have. And so I left up AnieshaJackson.com. If
yes,
you
please.
want to reach out to Aniesha, if you want to order her book, um, and I have the book, and it's really, really neat. I was able to read it and just kind of laugh through some of it, but because of Kia's right,
Brazenness.
uh,
She is confident in who she is.
yeah,
She's
she
a
is.
KIA, a know it all. And she's
Yeah,
a third grade. So she was like, I'm an expert at life. But it's really me, but it's really me counseling kids in a no
right.
nonsense way. I'm not that counselor. It's like rainbows every day. That's not everybody's life. And
No,
so just
that's not most people's life.
that's not most
So
people's life.
exactly. So thank you so much for
Thank you, Dr.
sharing
Bo.
how SEL supports trauma healing. And we are so happy to have had Aniesha tonight. We hope that you have gained some knowledge, you have learned something, and definitely, if you're watching this on the replay, just put replay. Please answer questions or put questions in there. We will
Yes.
look for them and answer them. And I
Yes.
just want to say that I'm so excited that tonight is our first night where we are streaming into our YouTube channel.
Hi, you
And so
too.
we do have some people on our YouTube channel. So hello to our new audience. I'm so happy that we were able to do that. So thank you so much. And we will see you next month as we explore just another topic. So thank you so much. And everybody
Thank you.
have a great, great evening.
Have a
Bye bye.
great evening.